Welcome to Speaking from Experience. I'm your host, Vishaka Kumar from the Intercultural Skills Lab at the Rotman School of Management, University of Toronto. We've invited alumni from our Business Edge program to share their experience continuing a career in Canada as a newcomer and their advice to others facing similar challenges. A common experience newcomers face in Canada is the reality of underemployment, or employment that isn't a match with their skills, education, work experience, or seniority level. Taking a job that interrupts your career trajectory after immigrating can be frustrating and disappointing, but it's also an experience our guest today says can help you discover new strengths and opportunities.
Speaking from experience that I had, always take credit on what you do and also take a moment to reflect and appreciate your efforts and appreciate the gifts that other people give you, good or bad. If something you don't like, that's an experience of what not to do.
Musharraf Sodiqova is an IT professional who moved to Canada from Tajikistan in 2011. She now works in business relationship management at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories in Ottawa. But Musharraf's path to connect her experience in Tajikistan with work that matched her skills and training in Canada came with a few detours. Detours, she says, in hindsight, she's grateful for. Welcome, Musharraf. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Very excited to have you on this episode, and I'd like for you to introduce yourself to our audience now.
Hi, Vishaka. Thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. And I'm very honored. I'm an IT professional with over 10 years of background working in business analysis and business relationship management. And before that, in Tajikistan, I was always working in humanitarian field doing monitoring and evaluation.
Can you tell me what led to that decision for you to make that move and sort of leave your home and your career behind?
I fall in love, and then you follow the person that you fall in love with, which happened to me. And my husband and I, we are very ambitious people, and we had a lot of opportunities in Tajikistan. We both were working for the United Nations, but we felt like it was not enough for us and to do more. And we needed more resources to access, which we felt was limited. And then we got invitations to different countries. Actually, I got an invitation to do my master's in Thailand, and I received a 100% scholarship. And my husband at the same time received a scholarship to do his PhD in Canada for the University of Toronto. So we did a little bit of research and a little bit of thinking, and we decided that Canada is going to be the place. I think it turned out to be a good decision in the long run for us.
I'm really interested in that journey of figuring out why it worked, how come it worked. Maybe take me through sort of your first experience of Canada and what it was like moving to a different culture across the world.
I can certainly share my journey. When we arrived, you kind of have this expectation, everything's going to work out fine. And then you take a pride that you have your university degree in your education, you're a specialist in your field, and you have many years, over 5 years, working for big world-known organizations. So you come here with a lot of confidence, like, I'm going to win this world. And then you get really crushed because the higher you get in your dreams, the quicker your disappointment, the bigger your disappointment is going to be. When we arrived, I started applying to different places. It was over 200 resumes in just like 2-3 months. And there was not a single response back. I was so disappointed, and I started questioning, what am I doing wrong? I was starting questioning, is my English okay? And at the time when we arrived, I was not aware of support systems for immigrants. So it felt pretty lonely then. Now I think things are very different because I know there were a lot of resources and organizations that were open throughout these years. But at the time when I arrived, I was not exposed to that information. I think it was also limited. So after getting that disappointment, I thought, okay, I can't just accept what is happening to me. And obviously, I'm getting feedback that there's no response. So something I need to change in my approach, which I did. And I Googled what's the Canadian way to get a job. And that's how I started educating myself more about the processes and the templates. And I started making connections with people specifically to target my professional goals. But I still wasn't getting the outcome that I was hoping for. And I realized that I don't have a Canadian experience to demonstrate to my future employees what is it that I can do actually to put just the word Canada on my resume. And I was like, okay, babysitting. This is something I can do. And I was pregnant with our first child already. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a very great experience for myself, because I had to convince myself that, yes, I never wanted to work as a babysitter. I'm overqualified. And I studied in a different field to do something different. I have passions in different field, but I chose to become a mom, and I chose to live in Canada. So I found positive things in working as a babysitter to educate myself on what stores I could go and what is it that I could buy for my child, learning this information from the family to whom I would be providing the babysitting services, and also making the deep, meaningful connections and building my network in Canada. So I just posted my resume on multiple platforms, and I forgot about this because I was still focusing on finding a job that I actually wanted to get. Within a couple of weeks, there was a woman who called me, and she was like, I need help. And I wasn't ready for this. I was thinking, I do want to take a job. I do need to create an income for us because we didn't come with a lot of money. So we were running out of money very quickly. I was like, okay, I got to work on my mindset again. So Musharraf, open up. What are the pros and cons? Okay, so, let's go ahead and just meet this family. I can always say no. I can always walk away. And I think this was one of the things that kept me going, is because I gave myself a permission to go and explore as much as I can, as long as I feel safe, and it gives me opportunities to learn something, as I said, right? Basic information. You recently wrote an article about Costco.
Yeah.
Going to Costco. And I could relate to it so much. It's funny because who doesn't know that to get stuff, you go to the store? But what you should know as an immigrant is that there are certain categories of stores where you can find certain categories of stuff. And then some stores are more expensive, and some stores have lower prices for the same products, same brands. So some of those nuances are not known. And I was like, okay, I'm going to learn this.
It's not just the career growth that you're looking for. It's also the life admin, and you're suddenly having to relearn everything that you thought you already knew. And then that's additional brain power and energy that's now being used. And so you're just being pulled in so many different directions in those initial couple of months or years.
Yeah, that is what it is. And it's always similar to saying, when life gives you lemons, what do? You make a lemonade, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't be sitting and be like, oh, poor Musharraf, I want to go back to Tajikistan. I made a choice. So give yourself a chance to explore and see how far you can go, because this journey is so much fun. If you just open up and you go and you allow yourself to experiment and allow yourself to fail and be okay with that, you will learn so much about yourself, about your own interests, about your own passions. All that journey allowed me to learn a lot about myself, and also allowed me to learn about how to navigate things in Canada in all the different aspects that you have to relearn as a new Canadian. So I was happy I gave myself a chance, and I worked as a nanny for, I think, 4 or 5 months. And this family became our best friends because we were so lucky to meet them. They had an amazing experience themselves landing as immigrants with nothing. And now they're both successful people, managing individual corporations and becoming investors, and just very successful in their careers. So watching them, I got really inspired, and I was like, I want to be that. And if they did it, I can do that too. So that allowed me to make connections and gain Canadian experience and gain more confidence. And then the next time when I was ready to move on to the next job, I used that to go and work for the store, because at that time my confidence was still low. I was like, nobody's going to hire me after the babysitting and the sphere that I wanted to work for. And then I applied to work for the store as a sales associate. And then again, I worked on my mindset to convince myself there are good things I could learn, some of the local language and the local phrases. And it was just my opportunity to explore my interests there and how well I could do. And what I learned about myself is that I'm really good with customer service. It was like, okay, so this is something that I can use in my resume when applying for a job, because it's a transferable skill. So again, you're making connections there. You're slowly building your Canadian experience. And mine is a long way. I hope people don't have to go through this lengthy period of collecting reliable experience just to get to the job that you're actually qualified to do. It took me about, a year, but because I had a child, it took me overall 1.5 years to actually land a job that was way closer to my education and my skill set and where I wanted to be.
It was interesting the way that you said collecting experience. So now I'm actually curious, like we hear Canadian experience being like the one thing that you need. And so now that you've gotten the Canadian experience, maybe you can expand on like, what is it that changes, or what is it that makes you more qualified, and does it even matter?
I think to answer this question, you want to put yourself in the shoes of someone who is hiring somebody they don't know. So now being in a position where I do the hiring, I very often want to learn more about the people that we're hiring. And sometimes it's much easier to do some background verification for someone who has local experience and local education. Like if someone have McMaster University or Carleton University or U of Ottawa or something else in their resume, it's legitimate, and you have ways to validate this information. Especially when you're hiring specialists in certain field that may have impact on other people's lives or on how things are done in Canada, right? As a hiring person, you have this responsibility to make sure that qualified people are hired. So just by putting myself in the shoes of people doing the hiring, I think I can see where it's just easier to look for something that you know. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm saying I think this is just a normal human behavior to kind of find a most convenient or simplistic way to do your job efficiently. So certainly putting word Canada on my resume helped me to start getting attention. It was also the time when I realized that LinkedIn profile is extremely important. And I worked on that one. And my job in the industry that I wanted to work in was actually got through LinkedIn. Is where I just contacted a talent acquisition person and said, hey, I'm available. That's it. I didn't even send him my resume. I said, hey, I'm available. And then he reviewed my profile and he got interested. And he got back to me. He's like, well, we're actually hiring for someone. It was more executive administrative role, but it was in the department that I wanted to work in. And I said, well, this is way better than what I have. And I'm going to take it. And it will give me a lot of safe space to do very well at that job, because admin work is something that I've had experience in the past, so I could do that. But also learn about this department, learn about the projects, and then find the position that I can move into as an internal candidate. So that was kind of my strategy. So you asked me how my experience before and after and that knowledge that I gained throughout this journey helped me. I think it's putting the word Canada on my resume, making myself visible on LinkedIn, is learning, I guess, certain standards that are not very visible to someone who is new to this environment. Just making myself seem to be more fit helped me to get that visibility. And I think this is very important, because you do need to be able to speak the language of that group that you are joining. of that community that you're joining, right? Mm-hmm. You can go to Japan and speak Tajik language. They will simply not understand you. So if you want to be understood, you do need to learn a little bit about them to at least make the entrance. And then once you are there, then it becomes more equitable and gives you a chance to shine.
Also thinking about, I guess, to someone who's maybe thinking about coming or already here, and if they're being told that they don't have the Canadian experience and, like their previous experience is not valid, I guess this is comforting for them to know that it's not that you weren't capable or qualified for these roles. It's just, and to not take it personally, like to not take the rejection personally. It's just because whoever is hiring is unfamiliar, and whose fault that is, we're not sure. And even if that is how we look at that experience, has to be examined a bit more. But it is on you to sort of take on the challenge of like really integrating yourself into the culture, learning what you need to do, re-looking at your resume and adapting that.
Yes, I think the accountability is on definitely on the person who is looking to establish themselves in Canada and getting a career in Canada. It does not necessarily have to be Canada, right? I think as long as you find a way to demonstrate through your resume or any other form when you do get the attention, I would think my advice would be to treat it as a precious gift of universe. You really do get an extremely short window to make a very good impression. So yes, the accountability is I think, on the person who's looking for those career opportunities for sure. And that's why I think a lot of agencies that support immigrants to integrate into Canadian labor market suggest to find volunteering opportunities. It's another way of getting those references that you might not have, because sometimes you come with an extensive experience and knowledge, but maybe people that you work with, they don't speak English. Maybe they don't know how to help you gain that visibility or give you that reference on LinkedIn. Doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It just means that your situation is a little bit different, and you don't have those opportunities to create that visibility. But it's just one way, and there's so many different ways, really. You can just go walk into your library, find some community organization. There's so many organizations that are looking for volunteers. I can't speak enough how important that is, I think, to establish all of those connections in your very beginning of the journey.
Absolutely. I think it can kind of go both ways. And this is just based off of my own experience and maybe some other stories, that when you are maybe in a role or a situation that you're not fully happy with, that can either bring you down or that can encourage you to sort of look and work beyond and work through that. And coming back to what you said about making lemonade is kind of your attitude. I'd love to sort of expand more on that. So through the babysitting, through the retail jobs, through the admin work, I can tell that you've had a very optimistic approach to those roles. And can you just tell me like where that stems from? What is that attitude you bring with you, and like how do you use it even today?
Well, I always wanted to give myself a chance to be where I want to be. And they say, run towards the direction you want to be at. And if you can't run, walk. And if you can't walk, crawl towards the direction. And if you can't crawl, lift down, and at least in the direction of the final destination. And like maybe the wind is going to move you a little bit. I don't have a specific final destination. It's like I want to be a CEO or CIO of an organization. It's not like that. I think the final destination actually did not exist. What the direction that I want to take it, that I'm taking is to make sure I always allow myself to explore, learn, and grow. I think it's the journey. I think what is important for me is to enjoy my life. I think this is my biggest drive. Sometimes you have control over things and sometimes you don't. And when you don't, it's your choice to try and embrace things as like, no, and I want, and be like a toddler, or just allow yourself to be more flexible and say, okay, well, I'm going to get there where I want. It's just not going to be right this second. And I'm going to allow myself to try something else in the meanwhile, just to keep it fun.
So could you now tell me what your journey looked sort of after overcoming those first few jobs and years and sort of finding your way into the positions you've held after? Could you take me through that journey?
Yes, absolutely. I got my job as an IT business analyst at the WACB some years ago, and I was already qualified to do the job. But again, this is a very specialized type of work where you do need to be able to demonstrate that you have a proven experience and knowledge. And again, I was missing those certificates. Even though I have the specialist degree from Tajikistan in IT and information systems, it's hard. Sometimes it's just hard. So I was lucky when I was working in an executive role. I was just extremely lucky to have my leaders, the directors that I work with, to support me in getting those certifications and passing the exams to be able to move to that job. So it took me about 2 years to complete that. And then I found like a job that I was qualified to do in the first place. It helped me, even that I think it was just more than certification. It kind of gives you another layer of the knowledge. You always learn, even though you think I know and I'm qualified, but you always learn some nuances. It's just going to make you stronger, just going to make you set you more for success. I became a business analyst, and very quickly, within a year, I advanced in my assignments, and like from very simple projects that were not visible to anyone. I was one of the top business analysts to lead the streams of enterprise initiatives that had extremely high visibility. And I worked closely with KPMG, and the consultants from there were giving me an outstanding feedback. And I was just so thrilled and so humbled by looking at all of that. And it was very deep feeling for me, because I was like, finally, I'm doing what I like to do. And then even after that, I moved on. We had to move from Toronto to Ottawa. So at that time, remote work was not a possibility. And I moved on to CNL, where I work currently as a business analyst, as a senior business analyst. And then, and again, starting from a simple project that was assigned to me, like I kept getting more visibility and bigger projects and more complex projects. And I got extended, and people appreciated the work that I do and the value that I bring. And then my CIO offered me my current job, which is in business relationship management. And it was just exciting to join his team and help build a department out of it. And now where I am today, it's very fulfilling. And definitely that journey did help me to be where I am today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Musharraf. This was absolutely wonderful. I'm sure our audience will have enjoyed listening to your story, and also a lot of the ideas you brought forth, especially your encouragement of us needing to continuously learn about ourselves and about what we like to do and where we would like to go forth.
Thank you, Vishaka, for having me and giving me a chance to share my story with people and reflect a little bit on my past. Thank you very much so much for creating the space, inviting me to your podcast series.
Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sure our listeners will get so much from this episode. So thank you once again. Thank you for listening to Speaking from Experience. I'm Vishaka Kumar from the Rotman School of Management's Intercultural Skills Lab. For more information about our programs, please click the link in the show notes or follow us on LinkedIn. That's where we post all our updates. Thank you to Musharraf Sodiqova for sharing her experience and expertise as a newcomer. This podcast is recorded and produced by me, Vishaka Kumar. Avery Moore Kloss is our podcast editor. Speaking from Experience is supported by the Rotman Intercultural Skills Lab at the University of Toronto, which promotes a deeper understanding of intercultural competencies for professionals.